maybe by episode 2 we'll have theme music.
Da- we can't use uh, posthumous zone, the thing that the NFL uses because we'll get copyright claimed.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
What if I do?
I just used like a xylophone app to make my own chime, like a ripoff of the NBC chime for my channel. I think it's called a stinger, but we can make one of those that sounds like Sports Center.
That's true. It would be the easiest thing in the world for me to whip something like that up in NFL. Will I do it?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Is MIDI still a thing?
MIDI is still a thing. However, YouTube
Nice.
is very good about knowing the melodies of things. I did a complete and total remix of White Rabbit for a video essay with none of the notes, nothing from the original, and it got copyright claimed. I'm like, how? It was with like 2010 style synthesizers, and you somehow knew what was going on.
Did you hear about Rick Astley suing Young Gravy?
No.
It's crazy.
So he wanted, I don't know the specific terminology, but Young Gravy asked for the rights to use parts of Never Gonna Give You Up in one of his songs, and they said no. So instead he got I think it's called, I don't know, the writing rights or the performing rights or something, which are a lot easier to get, and it allows you to perform your own version of the song. So that's what he did. And they sampled his own version of the song, which is all perfectly legal. But they intentionally made it sound as much like the original as they could, and they didn't really publish the fact that they didn't sample the original. So Rick Astley is suing and saying that it was defamatory because they're making it look like he gave permission to use his song when he actually didn't.
That is very interesting, and I don't know how to feel about it. The only law class I've ever taken, as I've stated before, was First Amendment law. So that's something I like. I understand his argument. I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if I like the precedent, but I also don't know if I like what Young Gravy did.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the same time, like, it was in the credits where it should be. And, it's whatever.
I heard there was this thing where someone basically like made an AI write every possible melody that they could write and then copyrighted all of them and then made them public use so that people could not be sued for just happening to like use the same melody as someone else, which I thought was pretty neat. So I don't know if that affects this case or not specifically, maybe not, but like I did think that was neat.
It's like a melody is a hard thing to like.
Copywriting a tune is such a weird idea, man.
Like, there's some that are very distinctive, and like obviously, if you have an arrangement of, like 16 notes in a certain order at a certain BPM with a certain like flow to it, there's a very good chance you have made something that has never been in a popular song before, or potentially, even in a like easily accessible song before. But it will be similar to other things. And as someone who makes music, you can, if you like study the music theory, I crib for myself, I borrow from myself a ton.
Yeah. As someone who knows nothing about making music, I was like, oh, this seems almost impossible to like genuinely come up with something completely like new that isn't at all like what someone else did. But I have no idea if that's like actually a thing. I just looked at it from the outside like, oh, it seems really hard with what some people are going to court over.
Once I saw that montage of all the scenes in Star Wars that George Lucas ripped out of other movies, that was the moment where I gave myself permission to be derivative. I was like, oh, nobody's creating something completely original. Everybody's starting somewhere, and so it's okay to do that. And just be, as long as you're obsessive about being giving credit, then that's.
And I personally, I kind of think music would be better if it was kind of like it was back in the old days, where it's like, some guy on a train wrote this song. No one knows who does it, but everyone sings their own version of it, and whatever version is best, that's the one that gets popular.
I mean, that's how the Iliad and the Odyssey happened, until someone finally wrote it down and it stopped changing.
Right.
I am going to do a video about this someday. There are still a couple songs like that. There is a popular EDM melody that like the person who has a copyright on it just has never enforced it, so everybody just uses it. It's from a song called Daddy DJ, but you probably know the melody. Oh, something Daddy DJ, please take me to the party. You also probably know as Ishi said ota,
Yes, that's it.
Or that's all I ever wanted, or I know this pretty rave girl. So I want to do a video about that because it's like there are still modern day standards, like there were back in the day, where some guy in a train made it. It's just that the person who made it is like, no, I'd rather somebody, make their own version, and people will find me that way. And they're right, because I only know the original song by doing all the research of where did the melody from Dota come from.
It now requires the guy on the train who wrote the song to be chill rather than being some bum who's never been heard from again.
Exactly.
The movie It's a Wonderful Life wasn't like a hugely popular hit when it first came out, but I can't remember who. I think it might have been MGM, but whoever owned or whoever made it let the copyright expire. And so all these networks started showing it around Christmas time because it was free. So it's like how it was, so it got discovered, it sort of became a cult classic, and then it became a real classic. And then once everybody fell in love with it, the creators decided to start enforcing the copyright again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will tend to do that.
Indeed.
All right, football.
I've been trying to figure out what to do with Steamboat Willie.
Oh, I've been doing the same thing. I'm working on a meme mashup album right now, and I'm like, it feels like I should put Steamboat Willie in here in some ridiculous context, and I'm just not sure how to add copyright violations to this.
Yeah, it's whatever I do with him. There's going to be giant block text, not created by Disney, not affiliated with Disney, because they can't try to claim that I'm taking their copyright.
I mean, you can do whatever with Steamboat Willie now. They're clearly just saying whatever about it. Also, good for them for the attention it's getting. More people are watching Steamboat Willie now than ever before because they let the copyright expire, and they still have the copyright on every other Mickey Mouse thing, so they're getting attention. There's a reasonable, letting it expire standard as long as you made things afterwards.
I posted it complete and unedited on my second channel.
Nice. All right.
It is basically a commercial because they're just like, you can use Mickey Mouse, but only if he's terribly drawn and on a steamboat.
All right, I have some friends who want to game with me in 45 minutes ish. Do we want to jump on the football thing now?
Yes.
All right. So, Mike, you said you're a Green Bay fan. Zach, who's your team?
I am wearing my Bills hoodie right now. I guess it's not really a hoodie because it's a hood, but it's an outdoor jacket. I am ride or die with the Buffalo Bills forever.
Excellent. I'm currently a Dolphins fan, and this is the first season of football that I have watched in at least 13 years.
Wow.
Yes. I was a Patriots fan growing up just because it was local. And when I came back, I decided to pick my current local team, which was the Miami Dolphins. I'm about an hour from the stadium, so it makes it easy to watch them for free.
Yeah, absolutely. And I grew up in a Buffalo suburb. My mom got me into football. I was never a huge sport person, but
how much snow is on the ground up there right now?
I just drove from Buffalo to Philadelphia because I go back and forth, and legit there was snow the whole way. It was snowing when I left my house in an undisclosed Buffalo suburb, and it was a miserable drive through and through. And we had some of the snowiest days I've ever seen the past few days before I left. It was waiting for me to have a drive, and then it just started all coming down because we didn't have a little bit of snow before that, not even a flake.
Yeah,
I grew up in New England,
but I went to school upstate, and I thought I had seen snow in New England, but the sheer volume that you get with the lake effect is just insane.
Yeah, that's a common out of state person going to an upstate college experience is I thought snow was supposed to be pretty. You're telling me it kills
We had
people?
we had second-year students coming in who'd done their first year in Florida, and we had to have a whole seminar to teach them how to not die.
Yeah.
It did make the Bills game very fun to watch, though, and the highlights even
Absolutely.
beforehand of the crowd all getting
We
in.
we need at least one good Snow Bowl a season.
I agree. And
Yeah.
it's fun watching the fans just throw snow up into the air every time we scored. It was great.
I was it was a flag like 3 or 4 times on touchdowns. There's a giant snowball goes up. I'm like, oh no, it's a flag, and no, it wasn't. It was just a snowball.
Being a Patriots fan, I am a childhood Patriots fan. I'm very nostalgic for Snow Bowls because they did a lot for us.
Yeah,
That's true. How did you feel about the Dolphins being made to play then in the freezer bowl? Not snow, but the terrible temperatures.
So the temperature thing, I didn't mind because that's the weather, and the weather is the weather. I didn't feel it was fair to ask Miami to play on such a short turnaround. But that's my only gripe, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so cold that Mahomes' helmet broke. So
Yeah.
it's,
That
both
was
teams were in
amazing.
it.
Yeah, I feel like when it's that cold, it's unfair to everyone.
And then
Oh, man.
literally when he went to put his replacement helmet on, it was so cold it didn't fit.
Well, helmets are terrible to put on in the cold, just in general. Like putting them on and taking them off all sucks. Like in that temperature, getting a new helmet would be awful. But, Zach, how are you feeling about the Bills going forward? How do you feel about the matchup against the Chiefs?
Very tragically, you're cutting out, but you came through mostly clear, although that is going to be in the recording. I am cautiously optimistic. This is our first postseason against the Chiefs where it's going to be in Buffalo in the modern, understanding of the Bills and the Chiefs, the Allen-led Bills, the Mahomes-led Chiefs. This will be the game that we've always wanted it to be on home turf with our crowd cheering them on with home field advantage and hopefully with a very, very cold Taylor Swift paying for the fact that she didn't come to Buffalo on the Eras tour. And then hopefully we win there. And then that, I think, that's like whether we make it to the Super Bowl and win or not. And obviously that's what I want. I want us to exercise this demon of not being able to beat the Chiefs in the postseason. That, for me, is going to be cathartic no matter what happens from there. I cannot realistically be mad with the team if we are the ones who send the Chiefs home. Very, very tragically, my internet's not playing nice today. How much of that did you hear?
It was cutting in and out.
Okay, the good news
in
is
and out, and you dropped from the call and then came back.
that was
We
got all but the end. I think we got the vibes if the recording got the vibes. But I don't know if you're
the recording got the vibes, and
right now I cannot hear you at all.
Oh no, really? You can't hear a single thing?
I can hear you now.
Now I can hear you.
Okay.
But it dropped out.
Oh no. So yeah, sentence version. I think this is a good chance for us to beat the Chiefs. We have everything lined up for us. If we're ever going to exercise this demon, it's going to be this game.
So yeah, that's the vibes I got from what you're saying, and I think you guys have a good chance. The Chiefs are weaker this year than every year, like basically since Mahomes got there. They feel weaker now.
I would agree.
I like when the Packers were going into
I'm going to be pulling for the Chiefs, but the Bills winning would be more interesting by far.
Yeah, I'm pulling for the Bills because I think Bills Ravens would be a pretty sweet matchup in the AFC Championship. But like when the Packers played the Bills, or when the Packers played the Chiefs, rather, I was actually pretty confident. Like the Chiefs don't look like the Chiefs that they have been in the past couple years to me this year. Mahomes doesn't look as good.
Yeah, I haven't been there for past seasons, but he does seem to complain a lot.
Yeah, it could be like just the pieces around him, but like he seems like he's having a down year, whereas like in the past he seems like he's been able to make do with what he's got, but maybe the weapons this year are just genuinely worse. I haven't watched them that closely.
Yeah.
Yeah. From what I've seen, I mean, they're definitely not a bad team. They made it to the playoffs, and
Right.
Unless
Just
you're,
not the
unless you're the
dominant.
Philadelphia Eagles, you don't make it to the playoffs as a bad team. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna get killed for
Yeah.
that one. But
I mean, how hard can they kill you after that? It's accurate.
Yeah, no, it's accurate. That's correct.
Yeah.
And
No,
but the teams this year, like it feels like anybody can upset anybody more so this year than
Yeah.
any other year. There isn't like a pecking order outside of like the 49ers in the NFC. Like I feel like
Yeah.
the Ravens are beatable by all the teams that are left, but it's going to be an uphill battle. I think the 49ers are
Yeah.
beatable, but it's going to be like twice the uphill battle.
Yeah, I agree. I think the gap between the 49ers and the rest of the NFC is pretty massive, but like the Packers, I genuinely think like we have the best chance of knocking them out with how hot we've been, and I think we got a good shot, but I don't expect to win. It's like one of those where it's like 60-40, we probably do lose, but I think we have a better chance than a lot of like people who aren't paying attention would think.
I would agree with that. The Packers always find ways to surprise me. I think I mentioned that whole division. That whole division's interesting to me. I don't hate any of the teams you've recommended. Hating the Bears to me, I might give it a try someday.
It's fun. It really is.
Every one of those teams is full of surprises, and the Packers have done it again. And that's the thing is, you guys are like experts on drafting quarterbacks that work out because it took us a while.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, Josh Allen is great, and I love him, and he should be on the team as long as he wants to play football. We should just keep giving him money. But we had some real non-starters for a little over a decade, and we also had Fitzpatrick. I love that guy. He just was not on a team that could make the most use out of him.
Fitzmagic was a baller. Yeah.
Do you guys have the power to make Aaron Rodgers be quiet?
No, actually, we don't. We tried really hard a lot of times, and he wouldn't do it.
That man needs an MRI.
That man hosted Jeopardy. It's the second most embarrassing Jeopardy host after Dr. Oz.
Oh God!
I love Aaron Rodgers, but like, yeah, it is nice having like not having the Packers be like on the hook for everything he says anymore. It is nice when that falls on somebody else. And like,
oh yeah, as a player, he was really easy to like. But yeah.
No,
his post NFL career is yeah.
I really liked him until he started going on some podcasts, and let me tell you, I learned some things. That being said, there are players on my own team who have had a similar problem. I've occasionally cringed at some things that some Bills players have said, but they don't go out and say it as often. Like they've learned to shut up in a way that Aaron Rodgers clearly has never learned to shut up. But now he's on the Jets, so I get to cheer against him.
I'm not one to talk. I was still rooting for the Patriots when Aaron Hernandez happened. So
I'm just.
Yeah. There are worse things that you could do than say very silly things on Pat McAfee's show, but he sure does do that a lot.
The Buffalo Bills still lead the AFC East in murder acquittals.
Pat McAfee is growing on me. I did not like Pat McAfee probably 6 months ago.
I like McAfee most of the time. Like he's like just a sports bro, and like once you accept that he's not like trying to be super serious about anything other than having fun with sports, it's much easier to listen to.
Like I said, I haven't really watched football since 2010-ish. So I didn't know that he was good at football.
Oh yeah, he was really good.
Like part of me like starting to like him is learning that he can actually play.
That is the other thing, is he's not just like a random jock bro who's like doing stuff. He's been there. He's been in the locker rooms. Like that's why I started to like his stuff at the beginning, because like he actually was giving a lot of like insights into what it's like to be in the locker room and a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then as he's gotten bigger, it's obviously a lot more just shenanigans. But it's whatever. I like it in general. But
like whenever Edelman talks, you just listen because you know that he's probably got something worth saying based on the way he played.
That is the other cool thing about like the modern days. There's so many like former players who are just going out giving legit insights. Like they've got former quarterbacks who have YouTube channels doing film breakdown every week of like, this is how this quarterback played, and that's been super helpful for me, like early in the season, trying to figure out, okay, how good was J Love actually looking? Like, and even when we were losing games, there'd be these former quarterbacks breaking down his film. It's like, I mean, he's missing some throws here and there, but like he looks really good at times. So it's like, okay, all right, maybe he's got it.
Yeah.
So, but I want to gush a little bit and apologize to Brian Gutekunst on the internet officially, because like I was officially like about as far in the pro Aaron Rodgers camp as you could be, and like the sort of rift between the GM and Rodgers, because it's like with Josh Allen, you just mentioned how like you could give him as much money and he can play for the team as long as he wants. It's like That's how I felt with Rodgers, and it's like having a great all-time great franchise quarterback is like having a girlfriend who is like really amazing and just everything you could possibly want, and then some other guy decides you two need to break up, and it's like, what? No, wait a minute now. Things are going so well. I know that maybe it'll be over in a few years, but like we can have 3 more years of this, and some random old dude in an office is just like, nah, we're going to trade him actually to the Jets. And now I've had that happen twice, 2 times. I've had to be legitimately depressed because my perfect girlfriend of a franchise quarterback has been broken up with by some random dude in a front office. And each time it has worked out so much better. We just got a younger girlfriend and it's working great. And so now I don't even know what to do. Like, the first time I was like, oh, this is terrible. I was super depressed. The second time it happened, I'm like, okay, I understand where we're going with this, but like, guys, look at every other team that tries to find a quarterback. It doesn't work well. Like, there's an over 50% chance the next one's going to suck. And like, I knew that going into week 1, and I was so sad about it. He doesn't suck, and it's amazing now. So I'm just like, okay, Goody, you were right. I was wrong. Like, not only did you draft Jordan Love, we've got 5 receivers for Jordan Love to throw to who are in their first or second year, and they're all really good. So it's wild. I can't believe how good of a job he's done.
It's like Jay Leno and Conan O'Brien all over again.
It is. It's perfect. I couldn't ask for better, and I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, I would not be, like, if, whatever happens with Josh Allen, if the next person who becomes our quarterback after him is not as good as Josh Allen, that, like, I'm not going to be super bad. But man, I'll be impressed if lightning strikes again, and it's, like, 3 times in a row. I watch a lot of John Boy's videos. I've been watching, I don't know how much Secret Base you all watch, but I've been watching, I forget the other guy from Dorktown, but I've been watching the history of the Minnesota Vikings, which is great. And he compares all the quarterbacks they start versus the quarterbacks that the Packers start in the same period. And it's
those are like, very fun.
Those are very different comparisons because you get into the double digits with the Vikings, and then with Packers, it's Brett Favre and then Aaron Rodgers, and then there are 2 games where Aaron Rodgers didn't start in his entire time with the Packers, which is crazy.
He had the one season that he did actually miss a good chunk of the season, so we did get bad quarterback play for a year. And so we know what it's like, but we did have a good QB at the beginning of that year, and we had a good QB coming back the next year, so it wasn't quite the same.
Yes. Poor Vikings fans.
When Brady fucked up his knee.
Yeah, it was very similar to that. Well, and then, okay, so then the year after he was gone for most of the year, then also he, in our season opener, had the My Knee game, where I was actually at that game, and it goes down in the first half, and we're down like 21-0, I think it was at halftime, and everyone in the stadium, because he just missed the entire last year, he got carted off, everyone in the stadium is just like, oh, he's done for the year again, like, we're going to have this happen again, and then he just trots back out there at half, all like high on whatever he is, and Bears fans that were sitting in front of us are just like, oh no, like genuinely scared, up 21-0, and the Packers fans are all just like looking around, just absolutely going crazy, like we had won the game when Rodgers comes trotting back out. And they go down there, they score the first touchdown, they scored the second touchdown, so the Bears are still up by 7, and there's like 5 Bears fans like 2 rows in front of me. And they just turn to each other, and one of them just buries his hands in his face, and the other one turns around and is like, "Oh my god, he's gonna do this, isn't he?" And they're just like they're hugging each other with the lead. Like, it was one of my favorite things I've ever seen because they knew what was happening, and then it happened.
Yeah.
And that's why you hate the Bears, Zach. That's why it's so much fun to hate the Bears.
The only two teams I truly, truly hate, for very different reasons, are the Patriots and the Cowboys. The Patriots because it's mandatory.
I was raised
because
to hate the Cowboys, but I was never told why. So can you give me a reason that I can give people?
So I came down here and I made a lot of friends in Philadelphia. I already didn't like the Cowboys for specifically 2 Super Bowls in the 1990s. You can probably guess which ones. Mm-hmm. And what I learned here was the most unacceptable team in the city of Philadelphia is the Cowboys by a country mile. In the same way that the most unacceptable team in Buffalo is the New England Patriots. It is like inconceivable. Like, people, my mom still hates the Dolphins, but I can't bring myself to hate a team that has been good for 2 years of my adult life. I can bring myself to hate a team that has been good for as long as I can remember until very recently, and it feels very cathartic. And the Cowboys, I don't know, it makes Eagles fans mad, and considering I've seen what they do when they win, and I live near a bunch of them, I'm going to avoid the one thing that really sets them off. As anybody from Philadelphia will know, the fact they threw trash at Santa is usually used as an insult by other teams, but it is a point of pride in Philadelphia. I've heard many people say with a straight face, Santa deserved it, Santa had it coming.
Yeah, I'd brag about that if that was what my city was known for. I'd be like, yeah, Santa earned that snowball. I did see you guys threw popcorn on your coach, by the way. Did you see that? Some Eagles fans, after the loss, threw popcorn at the coach, and then security went up to grab him, and he just fucking dipped. He just threw his jacket on and ran away.
I don't think anybody deserves that popcorn thrown at them, but if there was a valid punishment for tanking a team in a winnable season, I cannot conceive better targets for that. Wow, what a collapse.
Yeah. And if there's anything that's genuinely okay to throw at someone, it's popcorn.
Agreed. Yeah. Like, all the things you could have thrown, and he didn't hit him. Yeah. He threw it at him, and he didn't get there because it was popcorn. So, right. I think that's a fair thing. Yeah, if you have to throw something at an NFL head coach, this is not advice, but popcorn isn't a bad choice.
The confetti of the kitchen, as it's known.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a good way to phrase it. He was celebrating the fact that apparently you guys aren't firing Sirianni. You're just rolling it back with some new coordinators. Seems like the plan.
I'm not deep enough into the Eagles are my backup team, but I can't follow another team the way I follow the Buffalo Bills because I legit get chest pains every single Bills game, and I am as far as I'm aware, every doctor has said I have incredible cardiac health. My heart's in good shape, and the Buffalo Bills disagree. The Buffalo Bills are like, I'm going to stress test this. I can't have another team I feel that deeply invested in.
Your doctor's just like, we've checked every result. You're looking fantastic. We just have one question. Who do you root for? And it's like, the Bills. It's like, shoot. All right, we're going to get you on this heart medicine right away.
You'll only ever need it on game day. Otherwise, you don't need to take it. But you should take 10 right before the game starts.
I'm giving you a once-a-week prescription. You get 17 pills, and then you get to come in and renew it for the day that the Bills clinch the playoffs.
Well, being a Bills fan, it doesn't come in pill form. It comes in jelly donut form.
Oh, yes, of course. It's a jelly donut or a hot sauce that you put on your wings.
That's how they make sure you eat it. You don't forget before you launch yourself through a table. You got to take your donut. So yeah, I think the Bills probably have the second best chance in the AFC, which I know is easy to say because they're the second seed. But even if they had lost and were coming out of the 7 or 6 seed, whatever they'd have been, they feel like the second best team right now. With the Chiefs, maybe, but I don't know how the Texans actually look. I haven't followed them super closely. I was kind of hoping the Browns would win that one, but then obviously the Texans just destroyed them. So I now kind of feel like I have to take them more seriously.
Same. I thought the same thing. I thought elite quarterback Joe Flacco was gonna just take them out, but I have to take them seriously.
Right.
Honestly, I feel like since nobody was prepared for them, it's like sort of dangerous. Right? It's the same way I feel about the Packers. Nobody who is like planning their postseason strategy was expecting the Packers to be there. Nobody's really expecting the Texans to be there either. Or at the very least, they didn't expect them to be this far to make it through week one. So that is going to scare people into, all right, now we need to go look through all these games I didn't watch and figure out what we're focusing on here.
And the thing about the Packers that's kind of nice, in a way now it's nice, is we haven't had a healthy team all year. So there's not even film of what Jordan Love does when he's got all of his offensive weapons around him, because the last game was the first time it happened. So it's just like, okay, sweet. Like, I guess we're pretty good when we have our running back and all of our receivers. And, like, the wild thing to me is we were actually like, this was a rebuilding year. The entire rest of the NFC North was just rejoicing. Like, all off season, I heard from NFC North, like, memes and fans, like, the Packers are going to finally be bad this year. Welcome to sucking like everybody else. And it's just like, oh, well, this was your hope. This was the year that you all had hope we were going to be bad. And here we are talking about the Super Bowl.
I saw a TikTok montage earlier from before the season of all the pundits talking about how bad Josh Allen was going to be.
Jordan Love,
cut together with his highlight reel.
Yeah. Well, Jordan Love, like, coming in, he was raw, and, like, I found actually, like, recently someone who was breaking him down before he was even drafted to the Packers, who I wish I remembered the name because I'd give him a shout out. It's on YouTube. He just absolutely nailed every part of Jordan Love's, like, evaluation. He's just like, yeah, this guy has tons of arm talent. He's got the poise. He seems like he could do it, but he really needs to sit somewhere and learn for a little while. If he can do that, he's going to be really good. He's a project, but if you throw him out there right away, it's probably not going to go well. And then after that, he gets drafted to the Packers, and they literally, like, didn't even dress him for the first year. When he came in, like, I thought he did decent against the Chiefs, but, like, you could tell they weren't, like, able to unleash him or, do anything really impressive. But then this year, like, he started out a little shaky, and then, like, once he found his rhythm, he was just so good. And, like, from the beginning, he was giving signs that, like, okay, this guy can figure it out. Like, he was making some incredible throws. Even when we were losing games, it was like, oh, Jordan Love doesn't seem like the problem here. And then everyone else just figured it out, and he's just literally been probably the best quarterback in the NFL for the last few weeks, which is wild. Like, way above anything I ever expected.
I just realized that I was calling Jordan Love Josh Allen.
Yeah, you only did it once. And we knew what you were talking about.
Okay. Are you sure? I feel like I did it more than once.
You may have done it more times and we didn't know you were doing it the other times. But
okay. I'm quite stoned, so that's gonna happen.
It'll happen, yeah.
I'm operating on way less sleep than I ought to be, but I can apparently remember things about the NFL pretty well.
And I'm in Wisconsin, so I'm drinking. So
I drove West Palm Beach, or just outside Miami, to New Hampshire and back over the holidays.
That's a wild one.
Yep. I'd done it in a straight shot before, with some legally prescribed ADHD medication, and it was thoroughly unpleasant.
Yeah.
Most drives over 5 hours.
Muscle spasm and shit.
Yeah.
So this time I took like a short nap on the first one, and it was much better, but it wasn't quite as good. So on the way back, I just got a hotel room at one point. I was only planning on stopping once, but 95 on Georgia was a parking lot. So I was like, all right. I just took a nap and tried again at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was a lot less traffic.
Speaking of traveling, I do want to try and go see an NFL game in person next season. It's going to be kind of wild because I'm going to be, most likely I'll be working in Indiana, where I've never lived or done anything before, and I'll be right near. I'm right near the part where, like, South Bend, so it's not far from Michigan, but not particularly close to Detroit, and about an hour out of Chicago. And then also, that means that Wisconsin is not horribly far from there because I can get up in that direction. Although Green Bay is not particularly close either, but it's certainly a lot closer than either Philadelphia or Buffalo. So I have to hope that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the Bills have an away game in either Chicago or Green Bay or Detroit or Indianapolis against the Colts, and that would be ideal for me to go. I've never gone to. I think when I was very young, I may have gone to a home game, and it's been so long that I have like no memory of it. I went to a lot of Sabres games in my youth, and that was back when the Sabres were good. And then there's an ongoing 12-year drought for the Sabres, which
I do remember that. Yeah, the Sabres were like one of the teams I remember like when I was a kid. It was like, oh yeah, the Sabres are always good.
Yep, I was in middle school for all those heartbreaker seasons where he made a deep postseason run, and it ended in disappointment, very tragically. And then
you guys used to have a super stud goalie, right?
Yeah. Oh yes.
I'm blanking on his name right now.
Miller.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Either way, I'm blanking on his name, but yeah, I haven't watched hockey as much in the last few years, but yeah, I remember the Sabres always, like as a kid, just being like, oh, yep, Sabres are a team that's usually pretty solid.
Yeah, it was Ryan Miller for 12 years. We had from 2002 to 2014, and he was at his like peak, the best. He just shut people out all the time.
Yeah.
And we had a good enough offense that he made up for it. And and now I barely watch Sabres games because I can only deal with so many depressing sports and anxiety-inducing sports things.
Yeah. But Wisconsin doesn't have an NHL team, so I get to bandwagon like based on players, which is kind of nice.
It's kind of crazy that Wisconsin doesn't have an NHL team. You would think of all the
states. It really is. It's not our lack of ice or love of hockey. It's our lack of cities, I think, that's really doing us in.
So
our youth group used to go watch the Portland Pirates once a year.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. We would get very drunk and loud for a hockey team if they put one in like Milwaukee or even Madison. I don't know how they would feel about that for the NHL.
I'm a fan of semi-pro personally. Our youth group used to go to watch the Portland Pirates once a year, and there were a lot more fights.
That is kind of nice. Like I do like the feel of like a smaller sports league. Like the Arena Football League, like is pretty dope to go to games. Like when that's a thing, which it will be a thing coming in spring 2024. Any football fans out there?
I'm gonna try out this UHL
Football League.
The what football league?
Yeah, the Arena Football League is apparently back. So like the Arena Football League is almost certainly going to be poorly run and a disaster, but if it's not, it'll be amazing. Because like every time they try to reboot it, they seem to like do it badly and it struggles. But like it's such a fun little thing if they could get like the business side of it right. Like if they had someone in charge who's competent, which maybe this new guy is, I know nothing about him. But like they're rebooting the league again after multiple failed attempts. So it's had like 30 plus seasons. It's like an extended history of a league. But like over the last, decade or two, it's folded like twice, basically. So
I'm looking at the teams now. So Albany gets a team, Philly's got a team,
and Philly Soul are one of the like legit franchises. I've heard a rumor that the Philly Soul were having like arena issues, like booking an arena this year. I haven't followed super closely.
The city of Philadelphia is having arena issues right now, as it turns out.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah, what's going on there? Is it like the place that they probably used to play is like something's wrong with it? I assume like something happened to one of your arenas.
So peeling back a little bit of what my job is, I know a lot about the municipal law of the city of Philadelphia and candidates' views on such things. They have a arena right now for the they have the whole area down in South Philly where all the sporting places are. So the Phillies play down there, the Eagles play down there, the 76ers and the Flyers all play down there, all in the same massive sprawling parking lot with 3 venues in it, essentially. And
that must be great.
yeah, well, it's away from anywhere where it would cause problems, except for, of course, traffic, which is people essentially drive in. It is accessible by public transit, but kind of. So what you would do is you would go to one of the main hub stations. There's 3, 30th Street, Suburban, and Jefferson. And those are all in Center City. And then you would have to essentially go to Suburban, then transfer to the Broad Street line, and then take the Broad Street line to the southernmost spot to go to a sports game. So there's a transfer baked in, and you have to take your regional rail line, to that transfer, and then get onto a very, very, very packed subway because they're packed for every sporting event. And then, of course, it's possible, because these leagues overlap, that, there's a baseball game going on the same day as a football game or a hockey game or something of that sort. So you have to worry about that as well. They want to make a arena at a mall that is essentially bankrupt, and that is right above Jefferson Station. So you would literally get on your regional rail line and get out at Jefferson and be at the game. You would just need to go upstairs, which would be incredible, but there's problems because it is right up against the border of Chinatown, and the Chinatown Business Association there does not want the mall replaced with an arena. They don't know what they want the mall replaced with, but they don't want it to be an arena. And the other problem is that Philadelphia has councilmanic prerogative, which means in order to build literally anything in Philadelphia, you need a member of the city council to approve it and no members to shoot it down, essentially. And because they have multiple at-large people, it can be tough. Although I don't think this is where my law, the municipality, city of Philadelphia, rather, kind of falls out of like the specifics. I think it's just the person who has that district is the one who has to sign off. But because there's a lot of wheeling and dealing and corruption on the council, it's often the case that one person in City Hall can put the kibosh on a building, even if this arena they're trying to build over that mall has zero money from taxpayers. It's all privately funded. So, which is incredibly rare for arenas. Like, holy crap, we paid a ton, taxpayers in Buffalo, for the new arena we haven't even got yet. It's rare to ever get something that's entirely privately funded. So there's a big fight going on over that. I expect them to eventually build the arena, but it's like a massive fight. And the other ones are starting to show their age, except for the where the Eagles play, I think has some years left in it. Otherwise, I think every other arena they have is due for a replacement.
That would make sense. I had heard like a rumor that Seoul might end up having to be like a traveling team for their first season back because they were having arena issues. So that would make sense of that. I hope they don't have to do that because that would suck for a league. And it would just be like another sign that the Arena Football League just doesn't have its shit together, which like is the thing that will determine how successful it is. It's like, guys, get your shit together and you'll be fine. But if you don't, you're not gonna. So I don't know. It's a bad sign if they don't get an arena.
And the teams, the only team that's particularly close to them is the Albany team, and that's still not particularly close. That's still a bit of a drive or a flight,
right? And
then that's gonna just suck in general for people who want to cheer for the Philadelphia team.
Yeah,
I'm looking. It's kind of crazy that there are 3 Kansas-based arena football teams.
So, the thing you need to know about arena football as well is like the teams will change every single year. Like I genuinely think there's been like over 30 seasons and never a single time in the league's history that they have had the exact same teams 2 years in a row. So franchises like are like, oh, hey, you think you can do this? Cool, let's try it. Like, they had the Chicago Rush announced, like, they had an owner who announced, like, their team, who were, like, one of the teams that was going to be coming back this year, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, there's the Minnesota Marathon and the Chicago Rush, which are kind of both equal distance from me, roughly. So maybe I'll go to one of the games, and then the schedule comes out, and the Chicago Rush just aren't on it, and they have an owner who had announced it was coming back, and then the schedule comes out, and then a week later, the Rush are like, yeah, we couldn't get our stuff together. We're going to be here next year. We're coming in next season into the league, and it's like, okay, like the league starts in 2 months, boys. Like, what are we doing here? So that's why I'm like, okay, the Arena Football League is coming back. I hope they do well. I will tell people to check it out because I find Arena Football incredibly entertaining. But be aware that the league may need to get better on the business end, if it's going to survive.
What do you guys think about the UHL?
I haven't followed that closely, really, at all.
I was planning on starting to watch the USFL, and I figure if they're merging, I might as well give it a try.
Yeah, I threw on a couple games last year, but it kind of, for me, as someone who's followed arena football for so long, I was like, okay, well, I'm skeptical of the ability to, like, do football in a business successful way, like, as a minor league, and have run into all of those problems, because, like, the XFL ran into all those problems when they tried to do it, too. So,
yeah.
And I was just giving the Arena Football League some shit, but I also, it's like, it would be a tough business to like run, because you need to pay these people to play a very violent game, and like you need to afford all of the things that come along with that, and also they're trying to like make it very fan accessible. So tickets to the Arena League were always pretty cheap, and like after the games you get to like go down onto the field and talk to the players and get autographs from the home team and stuff. So it's like, it's a super fan accessible experience, but like also the business aspect of it, I understand why it's really difficult. And like all the spring leagues, I think, are going to kind of run into that. Like you almost have to have like a big fan base that wants to come out and support it right from the get-go, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, that's the tough thing. Any sports league you need to build up over time, and you also need to be able to pay an exorbitant amount of money out the gate. So you have to be okay with making a loss for an indeterminate amount of time. That loss could be massive, and maybe you don't even build up the fan base. And good luck finding anybody to take that bet. Good luck finding anybody who's like, yeah, I'm going to throw my money into that and hope that I have anything to show for it. Because even if they're okay taking the loss,
well, you need status symbol owners.
Yes.
Yeah. You need owners who just want to be able to say, let's go watch my team play.
Yes, that is all of sports ownership. Sports ownership is like the biggest thing of like, I just want to throw money at like a pet project that the city enjoys, but really this is my baby.
I mean, for sure, that's something I want to do. If I'm ever wealthy enough from anything that I do to make money, that I could afford to sponsor a second string esports team, 100%. That's one of my frivolous, I have the money to do this, it makes me happy sort of things. I will do that. 100%. Yeah. And that's one of the things that's actually easier to afford it than a football team. Right. Oh boy, that's a lot of players. Esport. If I do Dota 2, it's 5 people and a coach. I think if I'm rich, I can swing that.
Yeah, if the football nerd club ever gets super big and we get rich, we can fund we'll fund a football, not American football, a soccer football league team in some tiny country. We'll go and just buy one and just be like, okay, we want to run Indonesian football. We want to be the best team in Indonesian league. Let's go.
One thing I've learned a little bit from watching this Wrexham stuff is let's try to make sure it's roughly in our same time zones.
Yes, good call. Yeah, we want to
go South American, Central American, something like that.
Yeah, good call. We want to be Wrexham in a cheaper country. Yeah, any of those Central American, Caribbean, those gotta have some cheap football teams that we could afford if we make it.
What's Guyana up to? Yeah, Belize.
Yeah, those places.
Puerto Rico. Yeah, everything's cheap in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Or Guam. That would fuck the time zone thing, but Guam would be fun.
So make sure you like and subscribe so we can one day afford a Guam football team.
Yes, we will buy Guam. Maybe we'll get American Samoa too. I don't know if there's ownership rules at that level. How many teams we can own?
Yeah, I don't know. And if there's not a league in American Samoa, we will found it. Don't worry.
That'd be fun to do a U.S. like territories and minor outlier islands league. Like all the places that kind of want to
Would
be
involve
states.
an incredible amount of travel, though.
Yeah, because the teams would be DC, who kind of already have a team, and then it would be Puerto Rico, Guam, and American Samoa, and then there's a couple other ones that
The
might
U.S.
not have
Virgin Islands.
the U.S. Virgin Islands might not even have enough people for a team.
Yeah. We import the players. It's fine. It's
That's
fine.
right.
All the players can just be brought in from America.
Yeah.
We just need all the local supports to be like, hey, if any of you miss even a single game this year, though, we are going bankrupt, so no pressure.
We just make them buy their season tickets in advance.
Yeah, good call. Just be like, yeah,
Or-
even if
or
you don't
we
show
make
up,
it
it'll be
a-
fun.
We make it a publicly traded team like Green Bay.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid ownership model.
That way, the local community will assume some of the debt because we will not be making a profit.
It's entirely publicly traded. We just get all of the public to pay for it, and we just run it. We don't put any money up at all.
It's called the Oprah Winfrey method.
Is that a thing that Oprah likes to do? That makes sense. I would do that if I was Oprah.
Sorry, she loves raising money and talking about how much money she's raised while never actually donating money herself. You don't get a net worth of over $1 billion by giving it away.
Yeah, giving it all of it away. Yeah. Although,
Like my understanding is Dolly Parton would be a billionaire if she didn't give away as much money as she did.
I wonder because I wonder about liquidity in that. Like, how much of if Oprah needed to buy something frantically, it's like, well, I can't just liquidate the O network overnight. It's evaluated.
So what you do? Here's
But
the
I can't-
thing.
I can't
What
just
they
get rid of
do,
all
and
of
it's basically a scam.
Yeah.
They borrow against the value of their shares.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they can get a loan, and then they don't have to pay taxes on that money because it's a loan. It's not income or anything.
It doesn't appear that Bill Belichick is going to the Cowboys, which would have been unstoppable. To just back on the football topic, I'm
That's
pretty
kinda hoping
glad
he'd go to the
that he's
Chargers.
not. I'd be
yeah.
fine. I'd be fine with anywhere. I was worried he would go to the Cowboys because I'm like, oh, they would win a Super Bowl in like the next 5 years if Bill Belichick went to the Cowboys. But it seems like they're keeping McCarthy, which is a wild move. But I'm in favor of it.
Good for them. I'm glad Belichick teaming up with the Cowboys is like a comical supervillain team up. It is unbelievable. It is like somebody's fever dream nightmare from like the Brady on the Patriots era. How could we get more evil?
Like when Johnny Damon went to the Yankees, man.
Yeah.
And
It
here's the
is
thing,
one of those.
I didn't so much mind him going to the Yankees because we weren't matching their offer. That's fine. But when he shaved his beard, I was like, no, fucking sell out, man.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
dude.
make
Like
me do that.
I'm also like, that was always one of the things about the Yankees where I was like, I really just want someone to just be bigger than the Yankees and come and just be like, nah, I'm keeping the beer, I'm not signing. And finally someone did. I can't remember who it was that originally did it, but I was just like, oh yes, finally. Like, because that's just such like a old man sports thing, right? Like like we've all dealt with terrible coaches who are just old heads who are just like, no, if you're doing something not the exact way that I want, it's bad, even when it's something as silly as growing a beard. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And like that like existence and the fact that so much of like coaching was like that is, in my opinion, why dudes like Mike McDaniel or Sean McVay were able to just come into the NFL and just run completely different wild systems that are actually smart. And it's like, oh, why are these 30-year-old head coaches just putting up crazy offensive numbers? It's like, because they're nerds. They're doing smart nerd stuff, not old head stuff. Like
Because they've been
all of
playing
you other
Madden
football
for
coaches.
25 years.
Right, exactly. Like I remember being in high school and just like arguing like not arguing, but like sitting there talking to even just like my dad or like other players. It's like, why don't we run like more motion? Why don't we like try to confuse defenses more? And it's like now that's like the entire thing because it's like, yeah, like all of this stuff that is like confusing and complex isn't that complex for the offense compared to the defense. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. There's just so much systematic involvement has gone on the second like few nerds sort of started proving themselves in the NFL ranks, and now it's just like the hot thing to be like, oh, wait a minute, these guys are all running way better systems than what we were doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Shanahan, like there's that whole coaching staff that was all like on the Commanders at the same time, and they were just terrible. And now all of them are like going off to be head coaches or really good coordinators, and they're all running sort of the similar systems and stuff. It's very funny to me to watch the evolution of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I want to wrap this. I don't know how the recording came out. I have to double check it. I might edit it also, but thank you. Thank you for doing this. This is a fun chat. I would love to talk.
This would be good.
I think maybe we should do. I think a lot of because the Interesting Nerd Network, where this is probably going to get published. Obviously, a lot of that is our hardcore fans of our the Interesting Nerd Club channel, and I don't know how many hardcore Song of Ice and Fire fans are also hardcore football fans, but I know George R. R. Martin is. So maybe we ought to do like a football for a Song of Ice and Fire fans. Talk about all the things that George R. R. Martin
tag him.
Yeah, tag.
Yeah, I was going to pitch that. I was like, even if we don't get too many views, as long as we become the most popular A Song of Ice and Fire football show, our chances of getting George as a guest on the show go up exponentially than if we were talking about Ice and Fire. Like if we were a football show,
that would allow us to create our own category of podcast, which would automatically allow us to say that we're number one in our category.
We're the number one, A Song of Ice and Fire football podcast. Yes, correct.
I do think that should be our branding. Yeah, I think that's what we should go for as a podcast. That's what I view us as, is the number one A Song of Ice and Fire based football podcast.
And we should cover at least the World Cup when it happens to make it, properly football.
Yeah,
I'm down to
totality of football.
Yeah. I'm down to do just general sports, whatever's like the most relevant at the time. We could always do a sports episode anytime.
100%.
Got the Olympics coming up.
What was I gonna say? When I was hanging out with Random Internet Guy last month, he said, because the football games are on in the background, I was checking the Bills score whenever they came on. He said, that's the thing, if you want to get George R. Martin to accidentally leak information, just talk with him about football, because then you'll figure out what everything in the Song of Ice and Fire is a football metaphor, and you can just go double check that.
Right, like, yeah, no, it is a legitimate thing that, like, if we popular being in A Song of Ice and Fire football podcast.
Tom Brady is Queen Marjorie? Someone younger and more beautiful will come and cast you down.
No, that's clearly Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers is Cersei.
Yeah, I was going to say Aaron Rodgers is Cersei was going to be my guess there, so I'm glad we're in agreement. I think that's the note we'll leave YouTube on.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers is Cersei. Goodbye, everybody.
And Jordan Love is the younger, beautiful queen.
Thank you. Jordan Love, yes. Bye, everyone.